So thank you all so much for joining us for a live virtual tour of Mexico City's historic center. And we're joined today by tour guide Fredo Olivares for a live tour of Mexico City's historic center. We're going to explore stunning colonial facades and iconic landmarks like the Metropolitan Cathedral and the Palacio de Bellas Artes, which is the main theater of Mexico. We're going to immerse ourselves in the rich history of the ancient Aztec city while strolling through the main square of Zocalo, the cultural and political heart of the city. And I apologize for any mispronunciations. I took high school French. I should have taken high school Spanish. But all 150 of us who are watching live and the many more that will watch the recording, let's give a big virtual round of applause to Fredo for joining us here today. And Fredo, you can take it away. Thanks so much.
Hello, guys. Welcome to all our friends all around the US, as I can see. So it's a pleasure. It's always a pleasure to have visitors now like you here in Mexico City. So this will be a tour where I will show you, yeah, all these beautiful areas, and I explain. I will tell you a lot about the history and the main insights of this place and of course showing you just the best of this beautiful city. It's a magnificent day with beautiful weather. It's winter, but it feels perfect. The temperature is about 20 Celsius. I don't know in Fahrenheit, sorry, but let me start showing you what's in front of me and what we can start appreciating from this point, guys. Okay, so let's begin officially with this virtual tour. And as our friend Robert mentions, we are going to explore 70 Fahrenheit. Thank you. We are going to explore this ancient city. It's an ancient city. It's a really old city that it hosts different layers of different stages in history. It's not only the modern city we can see in front of us, or this palace with European inspiration that I will show you in a minute with more detail. It's also the colonial vestiges of the 300 years that Mexico was part of the Spanish Empire from 1521 to 1821, and also the 200 years of Aztec domain. And before the Aztec, other more ancient civilizations that live around. What I am telling around, because Mexico City area is built on a lake. Maybe that's a new information for many of you, but most of the surface of Mexico City used to be still 500 years ago a big lake, actually a large group of five lakes. The Aztecs, 700 years ago, started their city, Mexico Tenochtitlan, in an island in the middle of that lake. But before that, centuries before, in the shores of the lake, surrounding the area of the lake, there were other more ancient civilizations like Teotihuacan or Cuicuilco that gave form to the cultural influence of these lands. But let me show you now the front of the palace. This is the main theater of Mexico, the palace that is called Bellas Artes. So we are going to do today like time travel from in this case, the 20th century to going back in time to the colonial times, and we will finish this virtual tour in the Aztec vestiges, the Aztec ruins of the Mexico Tenochtitlan city, the capital of the Aztec domain. So we have this palace here with European French inspiration because we had a president, Mr. Porfirio Diaz, that was 30 years in power. He finished his presidency in 1810, with the beginning of the Mexican Revolution. That's the main goal was to overthrow this gentleman, Porfirio Diaz. But this man, this dictator, he was such an admirer of the European palaces, of the European art and architecture. That's why he brought one Italian architect, Adamo Boari, and also all the material, the white marble, was taken from Italy. Inside this building, we have, as I mentioned, the main theater of Mexico with many shows and presentations of opera, for example, classical music, or the traditional folkloric ballets of Mexico regarding Mexican dances of the different regions of the country. But also inside, when you pay the bill to access the superior floors, you can see the mural paintings made by Diego Rivera, José Clemente Orozco, and David Alfaro Siqueiros, some of the main figures of the muralism in Mexico, one of the most representative art of Mexico in the second part of the 20th century. On top, we have a dome, and maybe you can notice, you can see right there the figure of an eagle right on top of the dome. Even when this building here, the Bellas Artes Palace, it has a European inspiration, a neoclassical with the columns, an Art Nouveau French architecture and decoration, and some statues that make reference to the Greek and Roman civilizations. We have also some icons of the Aztec civilization. In this case, in this one of the lateral doors, we have one Aztec warrior. It's a jaguar warrior. The jaguar knights were the elite infantry of the Aztec, along with the eagle warriors. So we have reference to the Aztec civilization here too. The one that founded Mexico City with the name we know it nowadays, Mexico Tenochtitlan. And that eagle I mentioned on top of the dome, it is about the mythological foundation of the city. According historical versions, they say that, or in the mythology of the Aztec, they chose this place, this island in the middle of the lake, to build their city because they had a vision, an apparition of one of their gods to one priest, and they ordered to build a city where they found that symbol, an eagle that is eating a snake, and they only found it here in the middle of the lake. That tower over there, made in the 1950s, is another icon of the historic center of Mexico. It is the first skyscraper in the world designed to resist an earthquake of 8 degrees in the Richter scale. And it's one more of the attractions of the city. So, next to the theater, next to Bellas Artes, I mean, across the street, we have that other beautiful palace made in gold and stone. In that case, is the stone taken from quarry areas in Mexico. It was also commissioned by the dictator Porfirio Diaz in the first years of the 1900s. It's a building dedicated to the postal service, the mail service of Mexico. Those were the offices for that really important activity during the first part of the 20th century, but still works, let's say, as a mailing service, but it's not as important working as offices. It's more like a historic building of the site, and I will take you inside for you to see how rich, how beautiful it's the interior. Regarding these styles, Porfirio Diaz wanted to imitate from the cities with palaces like Paris, Venice, or Florence. Once we enter this building, I will take you to the area of the city with the colonial vestiges. Just one moment. Mexico City is a big city with 26 million inhabitants, 7 million in the main area, let's say, and other 10 million in neighboring municipalities. So there's a lot of activity around, and because all the cultural legacy and the history, also a really fun tourist spot. And some of you mentioned you have been here already. So it's a city with a mix of many things. This is the interior of the Postal Service Palace. Porfirio Diaz wanted to have the best in their government offices. That's stairs. Those stairs were made in Florence, in Italy. This is the first building in Latin America to have a lift, an elevator, and also the first building and have a telephone. It's 4 floors tall, this building. All the structure was made in Chicago. And there's also one German club inside. Sometimes we can visit, sometimes we can enter more to the main courtyard, sometimes. Like today, we cannot. Okay, but for you to have an idea, the style of the different buildings that you can access in Mexico City Historic Center and take a photo and so. Listen. That guy is playing this traditional, we call it organillo, like little organ. Also, a tradition that started in the times of Porfirio Diaz, again, the first years of the 20th century. And those machines are still playing around. Not many people like it, but it's about what each one likes. Okay, so I will show you briefly this little square over here. This square is called Manuel Tolsa. First, pay attention to the building we have over there, made in a neoclassical style, also commissioned by the dictator Porfirio Diaz to be the main offices of the communications. I mean, the trains and the telegraph. That's why this monumental building, commissioned by Diaz, but it is not government offices anymore. Nowadays, it's the National Museum of Art, the most important exhibitions of national and international artists are exhibited here. Sadly, I cannot take you inside, but if you have the opportunity to visit someday, the MUNAL, Museo Nacional de Arte, you have a chance. It's a good thing to do here. Now we will start exploring the areas of Mexico City that are part of the colonial stage. It means Spain conquered the Aztec people, the Spanish forces led by Hernán Cortés, 1521. During 300 years, Mexico was part of the Spanish Empire. It was both, let's say, according to the perspective we can tell, but it was either or both a colony and an extension of the Spanish territories. Okay, they made a lot of new cities here, in many cases destroying the ancient cities of the ancient civilizations of Mesoamerica, like in the case of Mexico City. Okay, so we have two vestiges in front of us that are part of the viceroyalty times. This was not called a kingdom. This was called a viceroyalty. Okay, we had no king here. We had a viceroy. Okay, so we have the statue that is popularly known as the little horse. uh, Nevertheless, it is the biggest equestrian statue in the world because it was served in one single shot of bronze. Okay, it was made by Manuel Tolsa, one famous architect of the last part of the colonial times. Thank you for your comments, guys. And this statue regards Charles IV, one of the last Spanish kings during the colonial times. And why we have still a statue of a Spanish king? Just because the artistic value it has. And here we have another building, but 100 years older than this one. This is the School of Engineers, and it was also designed by Manuel Tolsa, the same architect that made the statue of the horse, Charles IV. And this was the offices of the colonial times for the mining activity. The mining, the mines, the extraction of minerals was so important. The main economical activity during the colonial times. Mexico is a really rich place in minerals, mainly silver, still the first producer of silver in the world. So also they needed such a big and monumental building to take this the offices for this activity. No? So Manuel Tolsa. And that square I show you is called Manuel Tolsa Square because of that architect and sculptor that made the statue and the School of Engineers and offices of the mining activity during the Vice Kingdom. Well, many streets of historic center are like this. Once they finished, they destroyed the Aztec city, Tenochtitlan. They built a new city with an European style. So in these areas of the new city, let's say, it was made like the traditional trace of the streets of the European cities, straight lines, crossing, like a chessboard. Actually, Hernan Cortés commissions the urbanist who made it, Alonso Garcia Bravo. And in this core area of the city, there were three different types of people living. The rich, because Mexico City started to be a really important place for commerce. The family of the conquistadors, the important people, let's say, the rulers and their families, the main counts and governors of different areas of the country, and the priests, many religious orders started to come here. And I will tell more about it. But first, look this beautiful house of the colonial times. This decoration it has that makes the Baroque decoration with the blue tiles. Actually, this house is called as the blue tiles house, Casa de los Azulejos, because this decoration, as I mentioned, the rich families wanted to show how rich they are, and this house decorated like this in the last part of the colonial times. It is still, as you can see, a cafeteria. But I will take you inside, not for see the cafeteria, but for you to see how the style inside is still preserved. Just a couple of meters on, and here we are, guys. Nowadays, it's the Sanborns restaurant, a really cool place you can visit to have lunch or dinner. But you see the house, see the architecture. This was one of the courtyards inside the house, a really humble house, right? And this is just a part of the house, even the stairs that take to the superior floor are decorated with the blue tiles. Modern elements like this mural painting here, made in the mid 20th century. One of the three most famous mural painters, that is Mr. Jose Clemente Orozco from Guadalajara, made that mural painting. So that's Mexico City. It has many surprises to check around. So of course, it's also an invite for you to come to this city to enjoy this chaotic but beautiful place. As we Mexicans and Chilangos, the ones that are from Mexico City, they call us Chilangos. But you enjoy like us this city. So let's go. Let me take you to the main street of the historic center that is called Madero Street. And I will tell you more about how important it was during the colonial times, the presence of the religious orders. So, the city, as I mentioned, was sectioned, was divided in these streets, but big blocks, the most of the area of the city was occupied by the churches, not only a church, but a full monastery with many different areas, not only the main altar, but many chapels, areas for plantations, areas for meditation, areas for teaching. Teaching what? The religious orders, such as the Franciscan, the Jesuits, or the Dominican, among others, didn't come here only to spread the Catholic beliefs and substitute the ancient beliefs of the people, or try to. But they also established the new order. These were social institutions for teaching different, for example, the labors taken from Europe, the European art, the Spanish language was taught in the monasteries. Taught in the monasteries. The control of the population with the baptism, with the registration of the newborns and so all of that was made in the monasteries. So that's why they were so important and that's why they were so big. This is San Francisco, a temple made by the Franciscan order. So I will get inside. I will remain in silence for 1 minute, just for you to appreciate it from inside. It's a Franciscan temple, so it's kind of sober. Well, this was the main altar, of course. It is still preserved as a church. Most of the monasteries were in big part demolished or sections were used for other purposes during the liberal reform of Mexico in the 19th century, already with Mexico as an independent country. You can feel now the peace with all the contrast with the exterior that it's always so chaotic. Areas of silence and peace and praying, of course, for the believers in the Catholic faith. So, of course, same with the Franciscan order. This is not the first building they made. Of course, the building has been remade many times and reconstructed. But one curious thing is that the Franciscan arrived in 1524, 3 years after the fall of Tenochtitlan, Mexico Tenochtitlan, I mean the defeat of the Aztec. And they established right in this spot. These same spots, they had their first temple, the Franciscan. And they had such a big territory to cover with missions that they started cover other territory, especially, I mean, to all around Mexico City, but also and mainly to the north. So cities like Santa Fe in New Mexico, Albuquerque, were founded by Franciscan. And in this case, the Franciscan departed from Mexico City, of course, first from Spain. They stopped in Mexico City, and from there, they received the commands to go and spread these missions to the north. By the ocean, departing from Acapulco in Mexico, they also reach the west coast of the United States, nowadays the United States. And they founded cities like San Francisco, Los Angeles, San Diego, Sacramento. That's why all those cities have religious related, Catholic related names. Well, guys, so let's advance this main street. And our goal now is to reach the main square. It's about 4 blocks away, but I will be showing you other interesting things. But now the idea is you to feel like you are here. This is a regular amount of people. I don't know if you see a lot or not, but this is like the regular thing Tuesday afternoon, you know? I mean, Wednesday. I know it's Tuesday still. The high season for visitors in Mexico City is in December. So we just finished that high season. During the main days of November and December, all this street is totally covered with people, almost impossible to walk. Now it is quiet in comparison, even when you hear the noise that is always here. And so this is other ancient house of the colonial times, the house of Mr. Agustin de Iturbide. Agustin de Iturbide was here only a couple of nights, but they call it the house of Iturbide. Iturbide was the first ruler of Mexico as an independent country. Let me see if we can enter the place. Just no, I think we won't be able. No, no, no. They are charging. But yeah, Iturbide was the first ruler of Mexico as an independent country after when Mexico gains its independence in 1821. But the curious thing with Mr. Iturbide is that he didn't declare himself president. He declared himself an emperor. So the rest of the politicians and mainly the liberals and the independentists in Mexico, they didn't agree with him. They only allow him to be 2 years in the power as an emperor, and then they punish him as a traitor according to their criteria. So after that, in 1824, Mexico has its first presidents. This street since the colonial times. I repeat, the name of this street is Madero Street in honor to one leader of the Mexican Revolution. But since the colonial times, this area is dedicated to commerce, mainly with jewelry, being a mining country, the jewels, and of course the precious metals like gold and silver were an important item for commerce. Also, Mexico was part of the Spanish Empire, as I mentioned. The Spanish Empire also covered the Philippines in Asia. So Mexico was the core, Mexico was the center of the commerce because Mexico connected. Thank you guys. Mexico connected commercially with Spain from the port of Veracruz in the Atlantic Ocean. So all the commercial items transited through all the territory of Mexico, and Mexico had another port for connection in the Pacific for connect with the Philippines, Acapulco. And in middle of all of that was Mexico City. So the tradition of being a commercial place was so important and is still preserved nowadays. So you can see still many jewelries around. The model of the colonial houses, that is the floor level for the commercial areas, the first floor for the administration of the building, and a third and fourth floor for the owners, the owners of the property to live quietly. Always something happening around. We have other monastery right here. This was made by the Jesuits. It's called the Temple of La Profesa. I will take you inside quickly for you to have a glimpse of the main altar. This altar with these columns in marble were made by Manuel Tolsatu, the one that designed the horse statue. Sorry it is so quick, but we still have a couple more things to see around. More buildings with the Art Nouveau style of the Porfirio Diaz time. Of course, not all of the buildings here survived the colonial times. They have been remodeled, reconstructed, restored with the decades, right? This statue here is in honor to Mr. Pancho Villa, one of the leaders of the Mexican Revolution. That's maybe the name sounds familiar for many of you. So yeah, none of the buildings have resisted because Mexico City, with the conditions it has that it was built on a lake. It brings problems. Many floods during the history of Mexico City. In the 17th century, Mexico City was about to disappear because one really, really severe flood that covered 3 meters of the city during 5 years. Mexico City was about to be abandoned and totally destroyed by that flooding. And the earthquakes, Mexico, the country is in an earthquake area, mainly the Pacific coast, but Mexico City suffers, especially with those movements, because the soil, the terrain, again, being built on mud, basically, it makes that the weight of the earthquakes increase and produce more damage. Another fact of Mexico City, because of the grounds where it is founded, it is that it's sinking. Maybe you have noticed in some of the areas we are walking that Mexico City is sinking, or many buildings are like twisted or like sunk in one side. And that again is because it's the only city in the world with these dimensions, at least, that is built on the water of a lake. It was not a great idea, but now we have the thing. Mexico City will disappear. I mean, all the city will sink. It's sinking between 1 and 3 meters every year, the full city. So let's see what's happened in some decades or centuries, we hope. And we are reaching the main square. This square here that is officially called Plaza de la Constitución, Square of the Constitution, but the popular name is Zocalo Square. We will find so many of these guys here dressed in a modern interpretation of the Aztec garments and Aztec rituals. We will see more of them. Ahead. And this square, of course, was an idea of the Spanish regarding the style of urbanism of the European cities. In this case, the result here was one of the biggest public squares in the world. Surrounding us, we have the three powers: the money, the government, and the religion. The money with all the commercial area we have just crossed to the street of Madero. The government, the political power with those buildings that are for the Mexico City government. And in front of us, we have the presidential palace that we call National Palace, el Palacio Nacional. Our big flag always here, moving. And that area, the presidential palace, is nowadays, and it has always been the offices for the presidents. And nowadays, it is also the house, the home of the president. We have that was just she was just started in October, Miss Claudia Sheinbaum. But before that, all the presidents had their offices here, and before that, all the viceroys during the colonial times had their offices here, not the same building, but in this same area. And before that, even the Aztec leaders had palaces in this area. This was, when the Spanish arrived, this was the palace of one Aztec leader that maybe you have heard the name, Moctezuma or Montezuma. The real name was Motekusomas Xocoyotzin. And of course, that palace was destroyed and it has been rebuilt many times and still with this neo-colonial style. These are the main offices for the government of Mexico. That main door only opens when we have a visitor, a president from other country, for example. And the religious power with the Metropolitan Cathedral, that left side, and this right side, we have the Sagrario, where the most important relics of Mexico are hosted. It took more than the 300 years of the colonial times to finish this version we have of the cathedral. I mean, they added more things even during the times of Mexico as an independent country. Originally, it was planned to be a Herreriano style. It means really sober, like the architect Herrera did in Spain. And the Sagrario, this addendum for the relics, it has a characteristic Baroque style of many colonial constructions in Mexico. The original idea was to be, now this cathedral has 5 sections. The original idea was to be a really monumental cathedral with 9 sections. But again, regarding the nature of the soil, they couldn't finish that project. And the cathedral is one of the monuments that is sinking the most in Mexico City. Here, other access to the commercial area. Maybe you can notice with this shot that the street is totally uneven. Again, because most of these big buildings are sinking, and because underneath us we have the Aztec city, and that will be the last part of this tour. I will show you the vestiges we have of the Aztec civilization. Now here we are making these kind of rituals regarding the ancient beliefs that are still preserved in some communities. They are making like a cleanse of the soul of the people with these herbs. The original Aztec rituals were so different. But anyways, I mean, it's okay to revisit some ancient concepts that were almost forgotten, but luckily they are not. More colonial style houses, and we are reaching what we can still see of the Aztec remains, of the Aztec city. Gracias. Let me ask now if I can access with the camera, because sometimes they allow us, sometimes they don't. Let me just ask, and if not, I will show you another perspective. ¿Puedo pasar grabando? Sí, gracias. Okay, we have permission now. So, this area is where the ancient big temple of the Aztec used to be, but for you to have a better idea, I will show you the 3 models we have here. Okay, the model of the ancient group of lakes, only that the islands in the middle is a part of the area we have visited. So the lake area was huge. Here at the north, we have other area that is called Teotihuacan with another ancient city and 2 big volcanoes, but all the mountains you see around Mexico are volcanoes. So the Aztec has a great idea, right? To build a city surrounded by enemies in the middle of a swamp and active volcanoes around. So the city they inherited us. Okay, so this is how the Aztec city looked like. The ceremonial center right there at the center of the city, some causeway that connected. So this empty area used to be water, or the water of the lake, it's our presentation. And other ceremonial centers, and so many people living around the ceremonial centers, and some cultivation areas with floating islands they created for having more areas for plantations. And this is the place where we are right now, okay? The sacred precincts, recinto sagrado, the place where the Aztec performed their rituals. They lived, not only the Aztec, but also the Maya, the Teotihuacanos, the Zapotec, the Olmec, all of them lived in a theocratical society. It means all their actions every day in private or public actions were dedicated to the cosmos, the forces of the cosmos, the deities, the gods, but also they had really complex idea of the universe, and they needed to connect with that cosmos, so they performed rituals, and they had this big area for performing rituals, mainly with temples. That's a big pyramid we see over there, as we can say. It has two shrines at the top dedicated to the two main gods of the Aztec, Tlaloc, god of the rain, and Huitzilopochtli, god of the fire and the war, and many other temples around, like for Tezcatlipoca, the god of the night and the sorcery. That's we see over there. That was the temple of Tonatiuh, and it is the area where now the cathedral is. That temple of Tonatiuh, all of this was destroyed. Many of these vestiges can be found under the streets. Actually, many of these buildings around, they have an access to the basements, so you can see some of the just the walls, of these buildings that once existed in this same area. And this is what we have left of the Aztec city. The ruins, that's a big temple with the two shrines at the top, the big pyramids that was called Teocalli, Great House of the Gods. Now is this, one of the first buildings on being destroyed after the invasion of the forces of Hernan Cortes over Tenochtitlan after 2 years of war. The Aztec were no saints, they perform really cruel rituals with human sacrifice, extracting the heart or decapitating their war enemies, making massive ceremonials of sacrifice. It's a big drama if you have the opportunity to know the different decisions the leaders of the Aztec, mainly Moctezuma Xocoyotzin, did for receiving first the Spanish as guests, and then it's a big long story, guys, but really interesting. If we have one opportunity someday, we can speak about it. That's the museum of the big temple, the Huaytocali, Great House of the Gods, where most of the pieces have been found. Here we have some remains of the stairs. We can notice that there are different layers of construction. It means they started there. That's white roof is an active research, archaeological research. So they started over there with a small temple. Then they enlarged, the Aztec enlarged the original with another on the top, and then put another on the top after decades. So they made that, in this case, 6 different times. It means this building at the end counted with 7 stages of construction. And this is what they have rescued. The excavations here started in the 20th century, guys. So let's finish with this, with explanation of this virtual tour. But Mr. Robert told me that we had the last minutes for reading questions and answers. So let me know, Robert, if we are stick with the plan. Thank you so much for your attendance, and I will be here um, answering your comments and questions, guys.
So, folks, let's give Fredo a big virtual round of applause. And yes, yeah, let's take the last 10 minutes for questions. I think that makes the most sense. So Joe asks, what time is it right now in Mexico City? And Joe, I did learn that they're an hour behind us. So it's 1:52 in Mexico City.
Exactly, yeah.
Okay. Nancy wants to know, Fredo, do you think it's safe to visit Mexico right now?
It's totally safe. I'm Mexico City, at least the area that we have visited. I mean, I am walking in the middle of the street with my cell phone and one device, just so easily to, if anyone want to take it. But I mean, I feel totally safe, and all the people here, you can see, they are totally quiet and feel safe here. And 99% of the Mexican territory is really safe. We have, of course, different gangs. I mean, let's call the bad guys in some real specific areas in Mexico fighting against each other. But normally, the civilian population lives really, really quiet.
So let's see. Donnie asks, what time of the year do you recommend we visit? Is there a better time of the year to visit Mexico?
Well, maybe if you want to avoid all the masses, the crowds, I mean,
Yep.
you can avoid November and December. I mean, it's the most beautiful decoration of the city because Dia de Muertos and Christmas. But yeah, for a regular visit, the rest of the months, it's really well. I mean, during April, it will be really hot, and the rest of the months, May, June, July, and September, maybe we have rain, but no, it's not an obstacle to visit Mexico City.
An anonymous attendee says Mexico City looks so clean, no graffiti or garbage. Is that because people are respectful or because the police enforce this kind of behavior?
Both, but mainly because the governments understood in one moment all the cultural value and the tourism that Mexico City could attract. So they make always an effort every day during different times of the day. You will see a lot of people cleaning. So it's a government effort, but also the civilian and the police participate.
Carla says it's interesting to see McDonald's, Dunkin' Donuts, Crocs. So she just wanted to make that comment. Reminds her of America. Carla also asks, are some streets for pedestrians only?
I mean, yeah, regarding the first comment, of course, we have this neighbor in the north, and we have a lot of influence, and we like a lot of American stuff over here too. And it's funny, how we have a McDonald's in a colonial building that is made with the rock of the Aztec. So it is just funny. And the other question was about, sorry, the
Yeah, are some streets for pedestrians
yeah.
only?
Yes, yes, yes. The street we walked today, Madero, is for pedestrians. Also, the Zocalo, the main square, was fully made for pedestrians only like 4 months ago. So yeah, many different areas are for pedestrians.
We have lots of positive comments in the chat and in the Q&A, which I'm not going to get to them all. I'm going to mainly stick with the questions. An anonymous attendee says, how far are you away from the volcanoes and are they still active?
Yes, one of the two big volcanoes near Mexico City is active. In Mexico, all the territory in total, we have like five active volcanoes. But the two more, the closer to Mexico City, Popocatépetl and Iztaccíhuatl, one of them, Popocatépetl, is active. And it's 100 kilometers away from this area.
Diane says, Fredo, thank you for the tour of your beautiful city. We will be visiting Mexico City in late March. What can we expect for weather? So, what's the weather going to be like for Diane when she visits in late March?
It will start to be hot, but nothing that it's an impediment to have a really good time. There wants to be a lot of rain, so really nice time to visit Mexico.
An anonymous attendee asks, what are the sidewalks made out of?
The sidewalks, I
Yeah,
mean, I think concrete. I mean,
I
I
would
think.
I would
Not
think
sure.
so. Renee asks, is there currently any sort of water shortage in the city?
Water shortage? You mean what?
Lack of water at all times.
Where do we get the water from?
I think they were asking, do you ever have any issues with the water supply in Mexico City?
Some areas, yeah, especially because some areas depend on the extraction of the subsoil water. So yeah, sometimes those areas suffer a bit. Just a few weeks every year.
Jerry asks, what is being done to try to keep the big buildings from sinking?
Mm, for example, the main theater, Bellas Artes, they have civil engineering projects there, like injecting a mix of sands under the building just to avoid it to keep sinking or to slow it a bit, slow down the path it sinks, but it's virtually impossible to stop like forever the sinking.
Let's see here. What is the name of the commercial area, the shopping area that you showed us?
Is the Madero Streets. Madero Streets. People just call it El Centro. We go to the Centro, and there you will find not only that, but many streets around, full of different areas of commerce
And
or different items. Also.
Yeah, John has a technical question for you. He says, "Great tour. What are you using to video and oh, sorry, what are you using to video and connect to the internet, and what is the upload speed?"
I don't know the upload speed right now. I am connected to the 5G of Telcel company. That's the internet service I have. And my phone is a Samsung Galaxy. So I am
There you
not
go.
really into technical things.
That's okay. Nothing special, John. There you go. Joe wants to know, do you have any sort of website? How do people find out more about your tours?
Yes. I have a website that is still in construction, but you can visit introlatino.com. Let me type it if you want.
Sure.
And there also you will find my social media links. Let me, that one, introlatino.com.
All right. And with that, we've
Thank you
reached,
for asking.
yep. So that's in the chat now, folks. And with that, we've reached 3 o'clock, Fredo. So, Fredo, do you have any last words for the audience before we wrap it up?
Just thank you for attending today. It's always pops the thing of the security here and the safety, but you can notice now, and I hope we Mexicans can have that new image to the world. That is a really quiet and a place that always receives people with glass. So. You're welcome here every time.
Appreciate that, Fredo. Great job. Folks, let's give Fredo a big virtual round of applause. For those watching live, when you exit the Zoom, please take the feedback survey and look for an email from me either later today or tomorrow with this recording, as well as information about some other upcoming virtual travel programs. So thank you all so much, and I hope everyone enjoys the rest of their day. Thanks again, Fredo.
Thank you so much, guys. Hope to see you soon again. Goodbye.
Bye.